Hello, welcome to the Craig's Motel. My name's Conan, I'm the concierge. Today we're looking at the next part of my workflow, which is tracking into my DAW. Let's jump in. So for those of you who are not familiar with the term tracking, it just means recording. Same thing. It comes from the tape days. I've always called it tracking. Some people call it recording. This video is part of a series of videos on my workflow. If you go to my channel and check under my playlists, you'll see one called My Workflow. So you can check previous ones if this is the first one that you're seeing. This is going to be about recording into my DAW from my MPCs and my other samplers. Now, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. This is just how I do it. On the new gen MPCs, you can bounce your tracks, explode them, etc., and then drag and drop them into your MPC. Into your DAW. I don't do that because I like to go through the process of digital to analog, analog to digital. There's various reasons for that, and I'll go into those. All of the outputs of my machines, be it my MPC-1, my Live 2, my 2000 XL, my 2500, my SP404, my Aiaiaia Instruments S2400, and now my sample, all of those have their outputs connected to my patch bay. My patch bay is also then in turn connected to the inputs on my interfaces. I use an RME Babyface, which has 4 analog inputs, or I use a Neumann MT48, which also has 4 analog inputs. I then have ADAT connected to that with 8 further inputs. So whichever interface I happen to be using, I have 12 inputs in total. And like I said, they're connected to my patch bay. And whichever instrument I'm recording, I can connect on my patch bay the outputs to the inputs. If that makes sense. I'm sorry if I went a bit too fast there, but I don't really want to concentrate on that too much. Jumping into my DAW, I use Studio One. I have a template set up for recording where all of my inputs have their own track. You can see here I've got the 4 analog inputs on my interface, be that the Neumann or the Babyface, and then I have my 8 individual ADAT inputs here. Before I go any further, I just want to explain the reasons why I go through this whole process, because a lot of people would say, well, with the new MPCs especially, why wouldn't you just drag and drop into your DAW? It's a lot easier, it's a lot quicker. Yes, it is quicker. I'm not necessarily going to say easier because it can be a bit of a ball ache and I see multiple people having problems with it. The way that I do it is a lot more long-winded, but for me it's simpler. And because it involves digital, analog, analog to digital, I can have outboard equipment in between. I also capture my converters. And we won't go into converters, but I do like to capture a little bit of converters, be that going into my outboard equipment or literally just going from my MPC into my patch bay, into my interface. You don't get that little bit of magic, that little bit of sauce if you're going to be bouncing, exploding your tracks. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just this is how I like to do it, and it's how I have always done it. And because if you watch previous videos, you'll know that I use a ACP88 multi-compressor gate and my Strymon Deco, and I also use effects on the SP404. I like to go through the process of running through those outboard pieces of equipment back into my patch bay and then into my interface and doing it in real time. Another reason why I like doing it in real time is because it is possible to build a track in your MPC, copy 4 bars, copy 8 bars, copy 16 bars, build up an entire sequence, but never actually listen to the sequence from start to finish. I see building a track, building a piece of music as a collage, as a painting, if you like. It sounds really cliched, I'm so sorry, but it's the only analogy I can really think of. And by recording in real time, I literally watch my track be painted onto the screen. I see my collage pieces built up in real time. And I also get to listen to each individual track in real time from start to finish. And like I said, it is possible to bounce everything into your DAW and never actually even listen to your track from start to finish. And I've done that. I'm not saying that everyone does that, but I have actually done that and not listened to my track all the way through and not really got a feel for how the track sounds. You know, it's very formulaic, for instance, making house music. And I have made house tracks in that way, where I've got a 4-bar loop and I've just copied it to 200 bars, chopped a load of stuff out, and then started mixing, but not really listen to the arrangement all the way through. This process enables me to listen to the track from start to finish, basically. And like I said, to watch my painting start forming on the screen of my DAW. Now, I do tend to use the individual outs on my MPCs. The reason why I haven't got cameras on all the different MPCs and stuff is because I'm just going to try and explain it as best as I can. But obviously on my 2500, my S2400 and my 2000 XL and my Live 2, I have multiple individual outputs. So what I tend to do, and again, there's no rules here, I will tend to have the drums separated, kicks, snares, claps, hi-hats, all on their own individual tracks. And I'll have maybe a couple of stereo outputs for, let's say, if I've got overhead drums, which is not that often, to be honest, on an MPC. If I've got the main sample, I tend to keep that in stereo. The other ones will be in mono. But, you know, I have multiple choices. It depends on the track. Although I have my template set up in my DAW, it doesn't have to be like that. I can change it to stereos, multiple stereos. So, you know, in my DAW, as you can see, I have 2 stereo tracks here, and these are all mono, but I can change these to stereo if I want to. So I will split the track up into, you know, with my beat tapes, there might be 6 tracks, maybe with kicks, snares, hats, maybe a bit of percussion, the main sample. And then I will feed them, if you like, into my DAW. So at the moment, I've got a track loaded up on my 2500, which is just to my left here. If you've watched my video on my studio tour, you'd know that. 2000 XL is there. But right here is my 2500. And I have got the tracks split up individually. I've got the main sample as a stereo, and then I've got the drum split up in mono. Now, if you happen to catch, I can't remember whether it was a video or whether it was his masterclass, but Alchemist, he uses this method. And I know I'm not the only one. I know he's not the only one. There's multiple producers I know out there that still use this method of recording it in real time. But he uses a 2500 and he doesn't even use the individual outs. He tracks out just using the stereo out, and he does each individual track out of the stereo out. Now, I don't know what his reasons are for that. I can't remember whether he explains it in the video that I saw. It could be that he just likes the sound of the stereo out on his 2500. It could be that he's used to doing that from previous samplers that he's had. ASR10, I think he used before that. I don't know. Does that have individual outs? I don't know. I've never used one, so I wouldn't know. But he just uses the stereo out. It could also be that he wants to listen to, it could also be that he wants it in stereo, for starters, and that he wants to listen to each individual track separately. With the method that I use, I will be recording maybe 5 or 6 tracks at the same time, and then I might go back and record some other tracks individually at a later time. I might add some more stuff, etc. The method that I use enables me to do that. I don't need it synced up. You can sync your MPCs to your computer using MIDI timecode, etc., MMC, MTC. The reason why I don't do that is because I use multiple units, and it's just a bit of a ball ache. Look, I'm just being lazy. I could go into each individual MPC and my S2400 and my SB404 and set it up so that when I hit play on my unit, it hits play and record on my DAW. But I don't do that. I'm going to show you exactly what I do. It's just, I just prefer doing it like this. I kind of feel almost like I'm doing it on tape when I do it like this. And when it's all synced up, I mean, saying that, I did actually used to sync on a tape. We used to use timecode on tape. We'd have a track for timecode, and that would be synced up to our MIDI instruments. But I just kind of like this method. It just kind of feels a little bit more hands-on and a little bit kind of more organic. So one of the first things that I will do is I will set up a 1-bar click. So it goes click, 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 and then the sequence will start. The reason why I do that is so that I can then sync up multiple tracks. If I, for instance, do record 5 or 6 tracks in one take, they're already going to be synced, so I don't have to worry about that. But if I'm going to be syncing something else, or if I'm working with another producer and they're going to be sending me some stuff that needs to be synced, that 1-bar click at the start, it's 1 bar, 4 clicks at the start, will enable me to sync everything up. Obviously, I have the BPM set, and then I will just, it will be easy then to just sync up the clicks at the start, basically. So that's why I do that. Also, it's easier to sync it out from multiple units. For instance, I might have some of the track in my SB404 or my MPC sample, etc. And then I might have a load of stuff from my MPC 2500. So if I've got into the habit of having a 1-bar click at the start for every single unit that I use, I can sync it up on whatever I'm working on, basically. Now, with the MPCs, it's easy because you can actually set it up to have 1 bar counting. On the SP404, I've not worked out a way of doing that. So what I do instead is I just make a 1 bar sequence with a click on it, going click, 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 click. And then I'll start that sequence. And when that click is starting, I'll hit the button for the next sequence and it will automatically go into that next sequence. So that's how I do it on the SP404. It's a little bit crazy, but it works for me. I haven't done it on my MPC sample yet. And I'm not sure there's a way to have a count in play, because obviously you need to have it in play because you're not going to be recording. Because if you have recording, well, you could do it in recording, I suppose. You could just have it switched off in recording in your MPC. Yeah, I didn't think of that. But you can set it up on your MPC easy enough to have 1 bar click counting. So that's what I do with the MPCs. And like I said, with the SP404, I actually make a sequence. So first thing first I need to do, which I haven't actually done here, is I need to change the tempo here to be the same as my MPC 2500. And then, as you can see, I've armed every single track here that needs to be armed. Now, there are certain things that you're going to need to do in your DAW to stop feedback loops. And with this, how I've got it set up is different from maybe how you might have it set up. But I'm using my Babyface at the moment, so I've got the analog turned off here, that's muted, and then I've got everything else playing through Studio One. That stops my feedback loop. What it also enables me to do here, these are my actual insert channels. These are the mixer channel. You'll see that it will come up on here, but it will also come up on here. These are my input channels. These are what are connected to my interface and my ADAT. Here, I can add inserts if I want. If I want to add a little bit of flavor on the way in, if I want to add, you know, a compressor, or if I want to add an EQ, or I want to add some reverb or whatever, and I want to bake it in, I'll add it here. If I want to add it later on, I'll add it here, because this won't record onto here. These will record. Whatever I put on here is going to be recorded onto here. Let's just drop that back a bit. But what I put on here, I'll be able to monitor it, but it won't actually record. Now, I don't tend to do that, to be honest. If I'm going to be putting effects on something in the mix down, I'll just do it in the mix down. The only time that I would do this maybe is if I'm going to be adding a compressor, or I maybe want to bake in a little bit of some character, etc. on the track. But to be honest with you, I don't tend to do it. Maybe a situation where I might do this, if I'm recording straight into my DAW, I'm recording a singer, I might have a compressor and an EQ on it, like maybe a 1176, an LA2A and a Pultec or something, pretty standard, or maybe a Tube Tech CL1B, I think it's called, soft tube, do an emulation of it. So I might have that on there because that's good for vocals. But I'm not doing vocals, and I don't tend to do vocals. So for this case scenario, I don't tend to put anything on here, but it is available if I want to. So if I am to press play, I'm being careful not to turn away from the mic, because you're going to lose me if I do, because it's very directional, this microphone. So I'll turn away, I'm going to press play, and you'll hear the click, and you'll see the signal start coming up on here. And all I basically need to do is press record. So as soon as I press record on here, it's going to count in, but I can't hear the count. Now you can see it's actually recording. Hit play on here, you'll hear the click, and then you'll actually hear the track. So I'm not going to record the whole track. If you know Beat Tape 1 from the Crates Motel, you'll be familiar with that track. So now you can see basically I've got each individual part there, kicks, the 808 snare, there's a different snare, there's a hat, and there's a clap, I think maybe. And then you've got the main sample there. Now you can see that the click is only on the main sample track, because that's just how it works. I've got it set up for the click to be coming out of the main stereo out. But I don't have to worry because all of these are already synced up. But if I was to bring in anything else, or for instance, if I was to record something else now, let's say on track 6, I recorded something else, I would have the click on that track, and then all I would need to do is sync it up here. So I would just make sure that it's lined up with the first click here, and then everything else that comes afterwards would be synced up with that. And it's actually that simple. And that's how that's how I've always done it. I mean, to be honest with you, even with tape, I used to put a click at the start, and it follows through, because it means that no matter what you do on what other units, even if I record in a different DAW or if somebody else sends me something, as long as that click is at the start, it's easy for me to sync things up. So there you have it. I didn't really want to go into too much detail on the actual setup of Studio One, etc. But do let me know below if there are Studio One specific people who would like to know how to set that up. It's not actually very difficult at all. But the reason why I didn't go into detail on the actual setup in my DAW is because everyone uses different DAWs. Studio One is not the most popular DAW. Pro Tools, Logic, they're a lot more popular. So it'd be kind of pointless me going through the process of how I set up Studio One, because it's not going to carry through if you use Ableton or whatever. But the actual technique, the concept, will carry through on any DAW that you use, using the click at the start. And, like I said, if you have it synced up to your computer, you're not going to have to worry about that. But another reason why I would say that I prefer to use the click is because I have used the syncing up technique before, and I've worked with other producers and they've synced it up. And there's just too many variables involved for me that can make things be out of sync. And with the click technique, if you have a click at the start of every single track that you record or every session that you record, you can't go out of sync. You can't, basically. With tape, you could, because the tape could change speed. But we don't have to worry about that in a computer anymore. So using the click technique, it's a very simple technique, and I've seen other people, explain it, but it has seemed to have got a little bit lost, because I think people like going through the process of, it's all synced to my computer. If I press this one button, it activates 100 different synthesizers and 80 different drum machines. And they like that whole nerdiness, and I love that whole nerdiness as well, but I need to make sure that the end product works properly. And having everything synced up like that, I've seen it go wrong, basically. With the click technique, there's a lot less to go wrong. Things can still go wrong, of course, but there's a lot less to go wrong if you're just working to a click, because you just need to sync that click up. And providing everything's at the same BPM, then everything is going to slot in place. So any questions, please, because, although I did ramble for quite a long time on my reasons for why I do it like this, the actual process, I didn't actually do very much, because there isn't really very much to do. You don't really want to sit there and watch me record track after track for 5 or 6 minutes. You get the idea. But if there are any questions, if you want more detail, then just please ask in the comments below, or send me an email at conan@thecratesmotel.com, and I will answer, and I'll get back to you, and I'll help you out in any way that I can. But I love this technique. I don't know if you can tell that enough in the video, because you probably can, because of my enthusiasm about it. But I love this technique because it's just more organic for me. And like I said in the video, it's more hands-on, and I get to watch my painting happen. I get to watch my collage pieces form on the screen in front of me. And I just prefer that a lot more to, look, we click and drag and drop and cut and paste and, etc. We do that in our daily lives all of the time, on our phones, on our computers, on our iPads, etc., etc. And I just like to sometimes break out of that and have a process where with recording, I have to record, I have to actually have it laid out in front of me. And it's actually one of the reasons why I like that Tape 16. And I think I said that in the Tape 16 video where I cover the Tape 16, it is that it puts you back in that seat where you have to record things in real time. And, it's not necessary. You don't have to do it. You can. It can be done quicker with exploding and dragging and dropping, but I just like this process. It's way more organic, and I think I've said that enough times now. So anyway, thanks for watching. This is The Crates Motel. My name's Conan. I'm the concierge. Till next time.
Concierge.